Disney or Universal? Which studio actually created pure evil? Not the strongest villains, not the most powerful. I'm talking about the ones that made your stomach turn. The ones you didn't just root against, you wanted them gone. Because there's a difference between a fun bad guy and a villain that feels wrong. And today we're breaking down how Disney and Universal design evil very differently, and why only one of them truly mastered it. So, what makes a villain feel evil instead of entertaining? What pure evil actually means. Before we pick a side, we need rules. Because evil gets thrown around way too easily. A villain blowing up cities does not automatically make them evil. That's scale. That's spectacle. Pure evil is emotional. It's about how the character makes you feel. Do they make you uncomfortable, angry, disturbed? Do they feel like someone who would hurt others even when they don't have to? Pure evil is personal. It lingers. And this is where the difference between Disney and Universal begins. Disney builds villains that target the heart. Universal often builds villains that target your instincts. Both are effective, but only one feels truly disturbing. Disney's version of evil, controlled cruelty. Disney villains don't usually feel chaotic. They feel intentional, calculated, personal. Their evil is rarely loud. It's quiet, planned, precise. Take Scar. He doesn't just want power. He dismantles a family from the inside. He isolates a child in grief, then plants guilt in his mind like a seed. Convincing Simba that he caused his father's death isn't just manipulation. It's psychological sabotage. Scar destroys someone's identity. That's emotional abuse, not just villainy. Then you have Jafar. He isn't explosive or unstable. He's patient, soft-spoken. He rarely raises his voice because he doesn't need to. He controls information, power structures, and perception. He manipulates the Sultan, imprisons Jasmine, and nearly rewrites reality itself, all with a composed smile. That calmness is disturbing. It tells you he understands morality and chooses to ignore it. Maleficent is even more unsettling. She curses a baby over wounded pride. Not war, not survival, pride. Her evil is ceremonial. The theatrics, the elegance, the slow delivery of the curse. It shows intention. She wants the pain to echo. That's cruelty with artistry. Look at Mother Gothel. She doesn't conquer kingdoms. She kidnaps a child and raises her in isolation, not with chains, but with emotional dependency. Gaslighting, guilt, manufactured insecurity, she weaponizes love. That feels real, uncomfortably real. Or Claude Frollo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. His evil is moral hypocrisy. He believes he is righteous while committing cruelty. He persecutes Quasimodo, lusts after Esmeralda, and justifies violence as virtue. That self-righteous evil mirrors real-world danger. Even Ursula fits this pattern. She doesn't force Ariel. She exploits insecurity. She tricks her into signing away her voice, contracts, fine print, deception. Her power is manipulation, not strength. Disney villains feel evil because they choose to be. Their actions aren't accidents. They aren't instincts. They are decisions. They understand empathy, relationships, and trust, and they break them on purpose. That's terrifying in a human way. But here's the thing. As calculated as they are, you still understand them. You see jealousy in Scar, ambition in Jafar, pride in Maleficent, insecurity in Mother Gothel, hypocrisy in Frollo. Their motives are emotional, and when a villain has motives, your brain can process them. You hate them. But you can explain them. Universal doesn't always give you that comfort. Universal's version of evil, fear and instinct. Universal villains often feel different, less personal, more dangerous. Their presence isn't built around betrayal or emotional manipulation. It's built around threat, survival, the feeling that something on screen could end you without hesitation. Think about the raptors in Jurassic Park. They're not evil in the traditional sense. They don't monologue. They don't explain themselves. They hunt. Quietly. Intelligently. They test doors. They coordinate. They adapt. That kitchen scene works because the raptors behave like problem solvers, not mindless beasts. Your brain stops seeing them as animals and starts seeing them as predators with strategy. You're not mad at them, you're scared of them. Fear hits the body before the mind has time to judge. Then look at early Gru in Despicable Me. Before the redemption arc softens him, he treats destruction like a hobby. He steals landmarks for status. He freezes civilians mid-motion without concern. His morality feels absent, not conflicted. The film frames it as comedy, but emotionally, that detachment is cold. He doesn't hate people. He just doesn't care about them. That emotional emptiness is unsettling in a quieter way. Even someone like Lord Farquaad from Shrek operates differently from Disney villains. He isn't driven by heartbreak or betrayal. He's driven by image, control, a shallow need to make his world look perfect. And to achieve that, he exiles entire populations of fairy tale creatures. His cruelty isn't dramatic, it's administrative, bureaucratic evil. That makes it feel uncomfortably realistic. Look at the shark from Jaws. It doesn't hate humans. It doesn't plan revenge. It just exists as a force that turns open water into terror. The fear comes from unpredictability. You can't negotiate with it. You can't reason with it. You can't appeal to emotion or the creatures in The Mummy. Imhotep isn't just evil in a personal sense. He's an unstoppable curse, a supernatural disaster in human form. He feels less like a villain and more like a plague with intent. Universal villains often don't feel like dramatic characters. They feel like events, disasters, predators, curses, threats that exist outside of morality. And threats hit your survival instincts, not just your emotions. Your heart rate rises, your muscles tense, your brain shifts into fight or flight. That's a biological reaction, not an emotional judgment. But here's the twist. Being scary does not automatically make someone purely evil. Because fear fades when the danger is gone. Your body calms down, your mind resets. But emotional violation, betrayal, manipulation, that lingers. That replays in your head. That sticks to your memory in a different way. Universal mastered danger. But danger and evil are not always the same thing. The emotional aftermath. Think about the villains that stayed with you. You probably remember being scared by dinosaurs. You probably remember tense scenes. But once the movie ends, the fear fades. Now think about Scar convincing Simba that his father's death was his fault. That sticks. That hurts in a way fear doesn't. Disney villains hurt emotionally, Universal villains overwhelm physically. One creates adrenaline, the other creates resentment, and resentment lasts longer. But we're not done yet. Because to decide who created pure evil, we need to look at one more factor: choice. The difference between instinct and intention. Here's the turning point. A predator hunts because it must. A monster destroys because it is built to. That's nature, that's instinct. Your brain files that under danger. But a character who understands empathy and chooses cruelty anyway, that feels wrong. Scar knew Mufasa loved Simba. He used that. Jafar knew Jasmine was trapped. He exploited that. Maleficent knew her curse would ruin lives. She smiled. That's not survival. That's not chaos. That's moral awareness followed by cruelty. And that is closer to what we define as evil in the real world. Universal villains often feel like forces. Disney villains feel like people who made dark choices. And people making those choices feels more disturbing than monsters following instincts. Final verdict. So who created pure evil? Universal created fear, tension, survival horror. Their villains make you feel unsafe. But Disney created villains that violate trust, manipulate love, weaponize relationships. Fear is powerful, but betrayal is personal. You can run from a monster. You can't run from someone who knows how to hurt you emotionally. That's why Disney villains are often more hated. Because they don't just threaten lives, they attack hearts. Universal made incredible threats. Disney mastered emotional cruelty, and emotional cruelty is what feels like pure evil. So maybe the most disturbing villains aren't the loudest ones, but the ones who smile while they ruin someone's life. That's the difference between being dangerous and being evil. Now I want to know what you think. Which studio created the villains you truly hate? The ones that made you angry, not just scared? Drop your answer in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown into villain psychology, hit like, subscribe for more deep dives into storytelling, and I'll see you in the next one.